Let's begin with some of the most important questions from polity and governance. Now, some of the most important topics definitely talk about constitutional, non-constitutional, judicial, quasi-judicial bodies. So those are some of the most important aspects that we focus on. Besides that, another important aspects that we would be taken into consideration are the fast-track courts, talking about the zero pendency courts, focusing on Article 35A, Article 370, NPR, some of the most important and upcoming topics for your this year's examination. Now, talking about tribunals, that's the first question that we have here. Looking onto the statements and the intricacies of the statements is very important. Now, the decision is legally binding onto the parties. That's correct. There is a way to appeal for the judgments of the tribunal court. Now, under the Swan Singh committee, you have the Article 323A and 323B that has been passed. Article A, the 323A talks about administrative tribunals, and 323B talks about tribunals for all other topics that is there. Both of these have been included under the 42nd Amendment Act of the Constitution 1976 under the Swan Singh committee recommendations. Now, these are not constitutional, but they are quasi-judicial in nature. So they are quasi-judicial in nature. So that's again important. Okay. Now, there's where we can say the statement 1 and 3 goes incorrect. You have 2 as the right option. The next question is regarding the electoral bonds. Now, under the electoral bonds, what we need to understand it was not introduced in 2019, but 2017-18 was the budget where it was introduced. Now, understanding that India is the first developing country to issue the electoral bond, and that's again very important. While transferring the electoral bond, the identity of the donor will not be known. So that's again important. A small change in the definition makes a huge change in your answer, because if you are not reading it carefully, you could have a great loss that could be witnessed in terms of achieving the correct answers. The next is over the top platform. Now, OTT, over the top platform, includes enterprises or structures in India like Netflix, Hotstar. These are based on videos on demand. So it could be video, audio, media content which is on demand platform, and the consumers can access from across the content that is being provided globally. It is also known as OCCP, which is the Online Curated Content Providers. So both the statements get correct here. The next question is index. Now, index is again important. We are talking about the idea of one government. So you would have one account, one personalized individual account, which could open the access for ministry, state, local bodies, or any PSUs, and it brings in a kind of holistic structure for a single enterprise. So both of those statements are correct. Now, this has been part of the Shillong Declaration, the 22nd National Conference on E-Governance that took place in Shillong. The next is the statements regarding two-child policy norms across the state government appointments. Now, Assam is not the first state. You had Maharashtra, followed by Madhya Pradesh, followed by Rajasthan, and then you had Assam, which have adopted a two-child policy norm for government jobs. Again, the Population Regulation Bill 2019, a private member bill, was introduced in the upper house, which says that if you have more than 2 children, you won't be eligible, or you won't be chosen as a MP, MLA, or a member of the local self-government body. So again, a very important aspect. The next is regarding Supreme Court. You have fixed number of strength of the Supreme Court judges. The initial first time it was released under Article 124 of the Constitution, it was 8, which was 7 plus 1. Later on, the number increased to 13, then you had 17, 25. At present, you have 31, which is 30 plus 1, 30 judges and 1 Chief Justice of India. So it is not for the first time that you have witnessed this amendment, but you have witnessed this amendment later on as well. Okay. The next is the National Crime Records Bureau. Now, National Crime Records Bureau, established in 1986, talks about information both on crime as well as criminals, both at national and international level, and it was initially established during the colonial period, and since then you had the linkages that had been coming in, and you have been trying to foresee the developmental efforts that have come into play. So this Crime Records Bureau has a kind of pointer which gives its indication to the National Police Commission as well as the Ministry of Affairs, where we are talking about the special task force mainly for issues related to, let's say, fingerprinting, talking about the Records Bureau, talking about the crime information that could be released. So those are some of the important aspects that we need to discuss. The Legal Information Management and Briefing System, which is part of the Ministry of Law and Justice. So which ministry is involved is important. Definitely, it monitors all the government cases online, and it also has data-driven decision-making authority, which helps the institutions perform better and conduct legal audits. The next is National Security Act 1980, brought about by Indira Gandhi. Any person who is a threat to national security could be detained under this, and this detention could be done under certain cases only. Okay, so that is the right option here, and this has been brought into play under the various acts that have come later on. Section 50 of the talking about elections, so you have narrative capture, which is where the election outcomes is just determined by the artificial issues rather than the state specific or local issues. Now, electoral campaign is not a campaign that is focusing on individual leadership, but nowadays when we are talking about the issues of extra personality issues under political events, we are more focused on individual leadership. So that's not where we are going correctly when we are focusing on electoral campaigns. So this is an incorrect statement. The next question talks about the Comptroller and the Auditor General. Now, Comptroller and the Auditor General and Attorney General, two of the very important questions often on asked for your examination. Comptroller and Auditor General mandates the audits of all the receipts and the expenditures of the government mechanism, the three-tier system. However, the Constitution, the Comptroller and the Auditor General is under the Article 148, has mandates or empowers the Parliament to prescribe the duties. So it's not directly from the Constitution, it's through the Parliament. You have the duties, powers and the services which are to be explained, and the reasons for the same have been enacted under the Act of 1971 that has been released. The transfer of judges can be done from one high court to another by not the governor but the president, and this should be in consultation with the Chief Justice of India. This is not an arbitrary process, so it cannot be just arbitrarily done, and it has been mentioned under Article 222(1) of the Indian Constitution, where you are talking about the transfer of judge from one high court to another. The next is right to internet. Now, right to internet has been in congruence with the Sustainable Development Goal 5, Sustainable Development Goal 9, and the UN Declaration has passed a non-binding resolution to make internet access a basic human right. Okay, so this is a incorrect statement. Next question talks about the right to be forgotten. Now, when we are talking about right to be forgotten, it is an ability to delink, delete or correct the personal information that is available on internet. This has been passed by European Union under the EU guidelines and does not apply beyond the boundaries of European Union. So it is not well established in India. So both the statements are correct here. The last question talks about the fast track courts, which was introduced in 2000. The idea is to dispose of the long pending cases in the session courts as well as the pending cases for the under trial prisoners. This has been established in the recommendation of the 11th Finance Commission. So here you have second statement that's correct. The judges are appointed on a temporary basis, which are selected by the high courts from the respective states. So that is again a very, very important aspect. As we said, zero pendency courts and fast track courts are some of the important aspects. Talking about the judicial system is one of the important sections from where you could have a lot of questions that could come up. So with this, we covered these 15 questions, very, very important. Similar kind of questions could be part of your examination paper. Prepare well. We will be covering many more topics before your examination. Have a wonderful evening.